Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May 3rd, 2023 Parent and Community Advisory Council Committee meeting, also known as the PCAC. The time is 7 p.m., and I would like to call to order this May 3rd, 2023 meeting. The purpose of this meeting is for the community to discuss, for the committee to discuss why we are here and what we hope to accomplish as an advisory council. This meeting will be recorded and it is on the PGCPS board webpage for the public to view. We will move into a roll call at this time. Mr. Ross, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Reverend Dr. Orlando Germain Vega. I can see you on screen, sir, but your microphone is muted. Mr. Clarence Dixon.
Present.
Vice Chair Will Epps.
Present.
Ms. Severina Hollingshed.
Present.
Dr. Sheila Jackson.
Present.
Ms. Carletta Lundy.
Present.
Chair Dolores Millhouse.
Present.
Dr. Sharon Porter.
Present.
G. Carter Ross is present. Ms. Keisha Thorpe. Ms. Carol Walker.
Present.
Ms. Robin Welsh. Ms. Celeste Wood.
Present.
Ms. Adam Stafford. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And I do want to take note, Ms. Thorpe just signed on.
Oh, thank you.
Ms. Keisha Thorpe.
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Present. I also see Ms. Welsh just signed on. Okay, so we have a quorum of 8+ members, and so we will now be able to move forward with our meeting. Item 1.2 is my welcome, and I want to thank you all. I missed you all last month. We didn't have a quorum, so we didn't get to meet, but I missed you all, and it's great seeing you all tonight. We have a lot to discuss, but it will be very high level. I am Dolores Millhouse, the chair of the Parent and Community Advisory Council for representing District 7. I want to thank all of the committee members who are here tonight. I want to also thank our board liaison. I do want to say that she did sign in yesterday for the meeting. So she was a day early, but she is also on travel. So thanking her for her support. I want to thank the Board of Education Director's office, or the director and her office staff, Ms. Lopez, and Ms. Dent is on here as well, who is the new director. So welcome everybody and thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Millhouse. Unfortunately, I'm having camera problems right now, but I am here and listening and taking note. And I look forward to speaking with you individually tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And I just want you all to know that Ms. Dent has already spoken with us several times. So she is already, she's already been working for us and with us and, getting some things done. So we're going to move into item 1.3, adoption of the meeting agenda. I do already have a request for change because I see that the agenda that is posted does not reflect the discussion for the board retreat. And so I would like to amend the current agenda to add item under section 2.0, discussion and action items, I would like to add 2.1 as PCAC retreat and adjust the current 2.1 to 2.2, which would be the presentation part 2 for Dr. Jackson in the PGCPS Family and School Partnership Department.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So do we need to take a roll call, or can I just do all in favor? Say aye.
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 Any- Thank you. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Say nay. So the ayes have it. So we will adopt the agenda to show that there has been a change to the section 2.0 discussion and action items to show 2.1 PCAC retreat, and item 2.2 will be the presentation part 2 for Dr. Jackson in the PGCPS Family School Partnership Department. Next, we will move into approval of the meeting minutes for March 1st, 2023. Are there any objections to approving the meeting minutes for March 1st, 2023? Agenda.
I move that we accept the minutes for March 1st.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any,
Aye.
any opposed? Say nay. Okay, so at this time, the ayes have it, and the minute meetings for March 1, 2023 will be approved by the majority vote. So now we're moving into item 1.5, report from the PCAC chair. Whew, it's a lot that's been happening. And first, I want to welcome the new director of Prince George's County Board of Education Office, Ms. Sharon Dent, and thank her for taking the time over the past couple of weeks and days to meet with me, to meet with the executive team for the PCAC, and to continue to push for resources for us. So Ms. Dent, again, welcome and thank you so much for what you and Ms. Lopez have been doing.
Thank you.
Approval of the PCAC retreat. At the last board meeting this in April, the board did approve the PCAC retreat, which we will discuss in item 2.1 as relates to dates. You all know that we have been discussing this for a while, and the purpose is not only to finally bring us together so we can create some community amongst ourselves outside of Zoom, but to also have an understanding that will be led by Dr. Jackson as an advisory group. How do we support PGCPS in focusing on providing equitable engagement strategies systemically across the school district, but to have a brief overview of understanding the COMAR regulations that govern us, to understand what it means to operate under the Open Meeting Act, and what can we actually do in our prospective areas based on our limited capacity, but to help PGCPS to build capacity. So I am excited that we got the green light on that. April 18th, 2023, I attended we were all invited to the Climate and Culture Parent Guardian Focus Group that was held specifically for the PCAC on April 18th. And it was exciting to have, and it was also led by discussions based on what we've talked about for equitable engagement in meeting with Ms. Rashida Tyler, the supervisor for strategic planning and change management. Many of you, and I hope all of you, took part in completing the climate and culture survey that PGCPS has that goes out. And one of the things based on our discussion was when you look at the survey, it doesn't really speak to engagement, right? And specifically how we may see engagement as parents, how the teachers may see it, as the community as a whole may see engagement. And so being in that focus group allowed us to have an intimate conversation. So I'm hoping that we are trying to, and Dr. Jackson, get me correct on this, reschedule another session for the PCAC. We don't want to hold it during our normal meetings because our normal meetings have to be televised or shown under the Open Meeting Act. And so this will be a focus group, not a meeting, which allows us to have a conversation about where we are sitting as parents in the schools, but also where we are, that we can now see global things globally from our position as advisors. So hopefully Ms. Tyler will be reaching out before the school year ends to see if she can reschedule another focus group, because they are going around, I don't know how many you all are having every week, Dr. Jackson, but they did hear the suggestion that we need to revisit this climate and culture survey and think about the questions that we are asking. Because if you ask me, how prepared is my child, or do they feel welcome in the school? If I can't even get access into the school, I can't really tell you how welcome, my child may feel or how it may feel if I still got to stand outside and I can't get in. So it was a really good conversation. On the 29th of April, Dr. Jackson and her team held the parent leader mini conference, and I hosted Who is PCAC? And it was an opportunity to speak to attendees and letting them know who we are as the PCAC. I wasn't surprised that most people didn't know about the PCAC prior to the presentation. And so from that, prior to that, I know many of you, we talked offline about asking for a joint letter. We still are working on that joint letter. And Ms. Dent is fighting for us to get that joint letter from the chair as well as the CEO office that says, hey, we're introducing us as this advisory group, and they're saying that we are committed to the work that they're doing, and as a collaborative effort, we are supporting them. So I didn't stop fighting for it, and now we have Ms. Dent here. The void has been filled, and she will continue to help us get that letter. But it was a great presentation. I will share the presentation with you all, because that may be something, I know some other people reached out to me asking for a presentation. We can use that as a boilerplate, vote on it. And what can change is the piece that you may have in there about your district. I did not do it from a district perspective. I did it as an overall, who we are as the PCAC, what are we charged to do? The PCAC report to the board, I had owed you that report, a draft report months ago, and I do apologize based on a family emergency that I had to take care of, and I had to go out for a couple of months, but I am back. The draft is ready. I will be submitting that to you all at the end of this meeting. Your feedback is valued, but also necessary, because we will take that report, submit that to the board, we'll submit it to the liaison to submit to the board, so they can then take those recommendations and hopefully begin to build things for next school year. The board is having their retreat June 15th, 16th, and 17th of June. So you all will have, it's not a lot. So I'm giving you about a week and a half to provide feedback. I also created a Google spreadsheet so you can throw it in there, which one is easier for you to do, but I need your feedback. There may be recommendations that I was not able to capture from the minute meetings, from looking back at the meetings themselves. But what I did was I captured what we discussed as things that we wanted to recommend, what we thought the board should be working on, and the CEO as a whole. You know, so it is generic at its best, but I need you all's feedback. And some things in there that we discussed as it relates to policy 1500, you know, what happens if a person moves out of the district, right? It's not addressed in there. And so, I went through policy 1500. So I will be creating another folder in our share drive that will be specifically for your review and feedback with a clear deadline for when I need the input. And so there's a lot that's been happening just in the month of April. But from February into April, there's been so much, but these are the pertinent things as it relates to the report from the chair. But we are working as a group. I know you all are doing a lot of things. I want to make sure that we also are showing the highlights that you all are doing in your prospective districts, in your prospective areas of interest, so they can collectively see what we're doing as a PCAC. Although it's a lot of administrative stuff that we're doing, next year, we're moving into a place where we're actually being able to have resources in place, such as hopefully email accounts, you know, a website that draws people to the PCAC, a way for us to do, you know, two-way communication without us having to utilize our own personal resources. And that we are seeing more than just a voice for the board, but that when they are looking at policies, they're coming to tap members of the PCAC to be a part of some of those focus groups or reviews before they decide to do mass communication of a policy or practice. So that concludes my report for the chair. Any questions? Nope, great. You can look at it in the meeting minutes, right, Mr. Ross? So right now we will move to the report of the board liaison. I did not see her come on. Am I correct in that? Okay, so we will move into the report of the CEO designees, item 1.7. And I will start with Dr. Jackson. I know you are presenting, but is there anything from a high level that you can present that you need to present or communicate that's not a part of your presentation?
I would just like to thank everyone who was able to tune in to our CEO's last teletown hall. And hopefully you got some good information from that. Just talking about tips for parents for, you know, how to help your children in the school year strong. And then I'd just like to give a shout out to Mr. Epps, who attended our April 19th Parent Engagement Assistant monthly meeting and represented PCAC at that meeting as well. So PCAC is getting known out there, and thank you all for all that you do to keep that in front of our public. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Ms. Welsh.
Good evening. So in terms of what we've been doing out of the Office of Government Relations, Compliance and Procedures, certainly we've done a lot of policies. Currently, the Policy and Governance Committee is working on a policy of that will be eventually coming up for public comment, and it's the transfer of students. That's the one. And then also withdrawal of students. And this is in reference to students who actually want to drop out of school before they graduate. So those two policies we've been working on, and they will be coming up for in the May meeting for a decision to move forward to the board for them to recommend for public comment. The other policy that we are in the discussion phase and has to do with, we currently have like 4 policies that have to do with boundary areas, attendance areas, and closing of schools. And they're sort of redundant. And so we are in the process of working to combine those policies so that we have one policy that will talk about school boundary areas for attendance areas and school closings. And so we are in the process of working on that. And actually at the May meeting, administrative staff that deal with the actual changing of boundaries and looking at the predictions for class sizes and number of students in a building, in a school building, those kinds of things are going to be at the Policy and Governance Committee meeting, and it's May 18th. And they're going to discuss the behind the scenes, all the work they do prior to ever making any recommendations to the board for movement, possibly to make any changes either in attendance areas or else closure of schools. So those are important ones to be paying attention to when they actually do come up, because I know parents are always very concerned about which school their children are attending, and many times are quite upset if a school is closed or if the attendance area is changed and their children have to go to a different school. We just had a fairly large number of policies that had gone out to public comment, and we did get a few public comments, but not as many as we would like to, related to, one second. It was, we had ones related to the, here's my paper. It was the sunscreen policy, which actually we had a lot of comments on the student sunscreen use policy, and people were very, very happy that we now have a policy that allows students to bring sunscreen to school and put sunscreen on themselves in the sun. So that was a positive one. And then the people first language. And this relates to especially students with disabilities, that instead of saying this is a disabled student, that the board is saying no, that we will refer to students with disabilities as students with disabilities. So it's using people first language when we're discussing those students. And then we also discussed interscholastic athletics and extracurricular activities that went out for public comment. We did not get any comments for that particular policy, but just to give you a very quick recap with that policy, for interscholastic athletics, the board has reinstated 2.0 GPA for those, because even athletics are very, very important. But the fact that by having to maintain a 2.0 in order to participate in athletics, that in itself is often a very good motivator for students to want to want to get their grades up so they can participate. The area we had a lot of discussion about had to do with extracurricular activities, and several committee members were concerned over, should we have a GPA of 2.0 for the extracurricular activities? And we brought in several high school principals who came and also discussed that. And their concern is that oftentimes students who they're not doing that great in school, but then they join a club or something and it's a motivator for them. It just catches their attention and they want to then be more part of the school environment. And basically the committee eventually voted to say, we don't want to have a 2.0 for that, because we want to encourage students to come to school. And if these kinds of activities, after school activities and stuff, really attract students to stay in school, then we want to be able to offer that. And the principals were quite convincing in terms of how many times kids do really stay in school because they get involved in these activities and they want to be a part of the school environment. So that was very interesting. And then we did get like one public comment on do not resuscitate orders. That was one of the other policies. Basically just saying they're glad we have something in place, because we had the do not resuscitate, excuse me. That was one that we discussed. The other one we are talking about had to do with AEDs and the fact that we have those in place and a plan to make sure people, both adults and students, are safe. And then the last one had to do with, and I think there was some confusion. So the committee recommended a rescission of the policy tuition waiver for summer school tuition. And the reason they did was because we no longer have been charging tuition. So last year, summer school was free, and this current year, summer school is free. And talking to the academics into school support and leadership, their thinking is that this will continue on for numerous years, because right now, we want to make sure students have the opportunity to come to school in the summer if they need to either for credit recovery because they did poorly in a course during the school year, or because they want to try another course or something. So we're no longer charging tuition for that. I will let you know, though, that we will be, in fact, Dr. Golson, myself, several of us will be putting together a list of for a recommendation of policies to work on for the upcoming school year. And that will go to the Policy and Governance Committee. And I wanted to remind the PCAC that the language in the board's bylaw 9340 states that by recommendation of the full board, any board committee or board authorized focus work group, they can make a recommendation for a policy to come up for either development or for revision. So I do know that you had talked about, I think it was 1500 that you had discussed as a possibility.
We
And
had 3 of them.
Then I think that what you want to make sure is that information is sent. So Alvaro Sharon Ruiz is our chair of that committee, and so it'll be important to make sure that he is informed that these are the ones that we would like to see, that you would like to, the PCAC would like to see on the list for next year to work on. So, and this is the perfect time to do it because then they'll be on the list for the upcoming school year to address.
So when are you all meeting?
So we'll meet on, we won't be, so we meet on May 18th. We won't be addressing the finalization of it will be the last meeting in June, which is like second week, I think in June or something. I have to look at that date. But I would within this month, make sure that he is aware of that because he is the board member, or if you can't reach him because he is a student and he's probably going to be very busy because he's a senior this year. The other person to contact is Walter Fields, who is the co-chair of the Policy and Governance Committee, to let them know that that's the recommendation of this committee to the Policy and Governance Committee for what policies that you'd like to see the committee work on for this upcoming school year.
Mhm. Okay, so what I heard you say is you all are meeting May 18th to,
It'll be our
create the
regular
list.
meeting.
that'll be your regular meeting, and then you will be presenting to the board in June.
So then the policy committee will make will discuss the plans for next year. And I went back and I looked at the calendar from last year, and it was actually in August that they finalized the schedule and the work plan. But I think it's smart to make sure you get the 3 policies you want worked on to that committee, end of May, beginning of June, so it gets on the list right away. They'll be definitely discussing it in the June Policy and Governance Committee meeting.
Okay, great. So that works with the timeline of, us getting this stuff in, because it was board policy, it's Administrative Procedure 4217 and Policy 0105, and then Policy 1500.
So now the policy committee doesn't have anything to do with administrative procedures. But we can even talk offline. You can let me know and we can look at that. I would have to talk to the department or division that's responsible for that policy, but and I don't even know how old the policy
That's
is.
Dr. Jackson. It's
Dr. Jackson's policy. Oh, yes, that's not a problem that we can
That's
get.
Dr. Jackson policy, but that policy was created because of board policy that procedure was created because of board policy 0105.
Oh, perfect.
So,
So that's not an issue. That way.
right, that's not an issue. They go hand in hand.
Yes, that'll be perfect.
Yep. So, okay.
So,
That's it.
and then the only other thing because I don't do policies all the time. We just wrapped up the Maryland State Department of Education audit, and now we're in the middle of the Office of Legislative Audits audit. That's a massive audit they do of all the school systems, and it's usually every 5 years, then they audit everything happening in the school system. So they just started our school system, so we'll be involved with that for several months until they finalize that audit. And then the last thing is that of course, the General Assembly did end on April 10th, and we're just waiting for all the bills to go to the governor. He has had 3 signing sessions, but he still has 2 more scheduled. So we know for sure make sure he hasn't vetoed any of the bills that have gone through. And then from there, we will be putting together a document that really lists out the policies, the bills that impact our school system. And our office actually works on having a spreadsheet that talks about which department division is responsible for implementation to ensure that we are meeting all the legal requirements from the new bills that passed.
Okay. And so the call to action from all of that is I guess our request is to make sure that the school system begins to work on a way to not just expect people to come to the website, that they're pushing that information out via messenger, so we can get it via text, right? So we can get it via robocall, so people will know. And it'll be very interesting to see how they push that information out as it relates to the student athletes. Did they even connect with the PGRAS, group, the student leaders, and share it with them to kind of, push forward to get comment and feedback, since it's directly impacting, those individuals. But, that's not for here. We can, that's part of the report.
Well, certainly there's always the, right now, I know that the board office sends out through the website information about any policies that are coming up for public comment, as well as they also, not in addition to that, all our newsletters, the newsletters that go out to parents, as well as the community, and the newsletters that go out to employees also list when policies are up for public comment to encourage people to do it. But if there's other methods that we should be considering, we're always open to looking at other ways to get that information out.
Okay, so we can talk offline, because I know I didn't get anything from the board. I know it's on the website, but I didn't get any notification from the board.
You would,
about
but do you, as a parent, you get you should receive the email that has the newsletter. It's either PG, CPS, Engage, or Express. I don't know which one, but then you should be able, that should they always post them in there too.
Right, and that's the thing. It's so much information, right, in those documents that's embedded. And so if we really want to hear from people, then they may want to also think about sending it out. Like they send me notifications to tell me that they're hiring. I'm getting those notifications on a regular basis that are also embedded in the newsletter. So that is something else. If we really want to hear from people, that we are putting that information out there as a singular notice, just like we're doing for the hiring. But that's just,
we can certainly have a conversation about that, and talk about possible other options that could be used too.
Yeah. Okay, so I appreciate it, Ms. Welsh. Any questions from Ms. Welsh? Comments, concerns? Okay, we will now move into item 2.0, discussion action items. 2.1 is the PCAC retreat. We have been approved. I'm so excited. Can you tell on Zoom? And we are, the school year is about to end. So we just got the approval, and we don't have many dates to kind of, utilize for this school year. And Dr. Jackson is going to be our facilitator. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, and your team. And the date that we have is June the 10th, a Saturday. And so June the 10th is before the board's meeting, the board's retreat, which is June the 15th, 16th, and 17th. And anything that may also come out of our retreat, we would definitely want to share with them while they are at their retreat. So we need to vote on whether or not June 10th is a date where the majority of us can meet. But I do know the facilitator is available, and the time will be between 9 o'clock, when we'll start doing continental breakfast, really starting at about Dr. Jackson 9:45 or so to be ending, by 12:30. We're not looking to be there all day. We can do the team building and come together in kumbaya in those couple of hours. It will be continental breakfast as well as lunch will be served. And so any questions, comments, concerns? And I apologize in advance, but you all know we've been working on this retreat and trying to get this approved. But hey, I'm not the board. So
Question, Chair Millhouse.
yes.
Do have a location yet?
The location will be at the Sasser building. It will be at the Sasser building in one of their board offices, in their office spaces.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
It's gonna be at the Sasser building in the boardroom,
Thank you, Ms. Dan.
with the food set up in the executive conference room. So we don't allow eating in the boardroom. So it's in the back of behind the boardroom.
But it's a nice space back there. It's quaint.
No, well, and I'm not, if you all want to use the executive conference room because you like that space is better for you, that'll be fine too. Just both spaces are available to you. So just let me know what I need to do to make sure that it's amenable for what for your purpose.
Mhm. And we're going to leave that up to Dr. Jackson as she's facilitating and creating everything as it relates to team building. But I would make the strong, I don't like to use the word assumption because, but I would make a strong guess that we would use one space for eating and then the other space to do our other engaging in activities. As Ms. Dent has made it clear, no eating in the sacred boardroom.
So hi, Dr. Jackson, how are you? You can just get with me and Rosa or Rosa and let us know, because in the open in the boardroom, it depends on how close you all are sitting or what you're going to need, a microphone, so then that's additional setup. So I just need to know. And that's usually because it's on Saturday. You would have to have staff to come in.
Yeah.
So we need to work around that. Dr. Jackson, you probably could have staff come in and we'll work out the logistics of the financial implications around that. Just send me a chat or something and you and I can get together, okay?
We'll definitely do that. I know that we've led kind of a retreat there in the well where we had tables brought in and put tables and chairs set in the well. That way we didn't bring any food into the main room, but that made it a wonderful workspace so that people aren't so far apart in that room.
How many are we talking approximately?
So it's 15 of us, and then depending on the staff from your office and then staff from Dr. Jackson's office, the cap was about 20. I didn't see that's needing more space than 20 people that, so it's small. We're mighty, but small but mighty.
Okay.
Unless you think we need to invite a whole bunch of dignitaries and we can make it larger. No? Okay, we'll just stick with 20.
Will the dignitaries help you with the work?
Will they help us with funding? Will they give us some money? That's the question. We don't even have a budget, but that's a whole different conversation. So, any questions? Any other questions? June the 10th. And I just want you all to know my baby birthday is that weekend. So I'm out of there by 1 o'clock. So any questions? Because we're going to move to voting for June the 10th to be the date for our retreat. And the school year ends the 12th. We don't have a July, do we have a July meeting? Ms. Lopez, do we meet over the summer?
No, I think our last meeting is June
And then we start back up in
in
August?
August. Mhm.
Yeah. So we have a break for the summer for a month. So I need a motion.
I
Motion.
would move that we approve the board retreat as proposed.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so we're gonna do roll call on this one, you all. So, Mr. Ross, can you take roll call as it relates to having June the 9th, I'm sorry, June the 10th as the date for our 2023 PCAC retreat?
So recording the roll vote, Reverend Dr. Orlando Tremaine Bego,
Aye.
Mr. Clarence Dixon,
Aye.
Vice Chair Will Epps,
Aye.
Ms. Soretta Hollenshed,
Aye.
Dr. Sheila Jackson,
Aye.
Ms. Carletta Lundy,
Aye.
Chair Dolores Millhouse,
Aye.
Dr. Sharon Porter,
Aye.
T. Carter Ross votes aye. Ms. Keisha Thorpe,
Aye.
Ms. Kira Walker,
Aye.
Mrs. Robin Welsh,
Aye.
Ms. Celeste Wood.
No.
The ayes have it.
Okay. And so at this time, it is voted on and agreed that we are going to present, that we will have our our committee retreat on June the 10th, 2023. We will work with Dr. Jackson and Ms. Dent to make sure we finalize the logistics, as well as have an outline and agenda out. Dr. Jackson, can we say in the next week? And then identify any special invited guests. Hopefully we will have a representative from our board, as well as Dr. Golson's office as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, thank you. Now we can move into Dr. Jackson's presentation. And I want to just say, Dr. Jackson, your team did a wonderful job. I don't want you all to think that if Dr. Jackson only speaks for 10 minutes, that she's just like, I'm done. But the presentation has been up there. So she's going to give us a high-level summary and give us a call to action as well. Dr. Jackson?
Thank you. Thank you all so much. And it's rare that a team gets invited back to a meeting in Prince George's County. So I am just delighted. You all have had that presentation now for 2 months. And so I am not going to drag you through the rest of my almost 100 slides. Instead, what I wanted to do was really talk about the high level things that we do. And I'll start sharing my screen when I get to a certain point. But in that presentation, you heard from the 3 specialists who helped me serve all 207 schools in Prince George's County, and not only serve schools directly, but also any parent group or any parents who needs assistance come to our office. And so we're delighted to be, we call ourselves servant leaders because that is our job, to support and help any parent who has concerns or questions. How do they navigate the system? How do we empower them to be able to resolve their own concerns? So at a high level, what we do is work through our now 85 parent engagement assistants that are assigned to 85 of our 207 schools. And it's only 85 because that's what our school system budget supports right now. And in the PowerPoint that you have in has the link that shows the list of schools that have those parent engagement assistants. Those individuals are screened and hired by the principal of those schools. We train them and help them work through what's in their job description to build the parent engagement presence in that school, as well as support the staff in those schools to have additional strategies to work effectively with parents. And so it is truly heartwarming work. And when Mr. Epps was at our PEA meeting, they were delighted to have an opportunity to interact with members of the Parent Community Advisory Council, because like Mrs. Millhouse said, not many people know about what PCAC is. And so the more they learned, they were so excited. They wanted to know who was the PCAC representative in their district. So that was great, because some of you will be getting calls, I'm pretty sure, from those individuals who are parent engagement assistants. But some schools want one of those positions. And since about, 2017, the general fund has not funded any of those positions. Schools that have added a parent engagement assistant have done so using their school-based, student-based budget. And I know a lot of times principals will say that's just not fair. And I tend to agree, but until we have a budget that will support us being able to put one of those individuals in every school, and maybe that's something PCAC can promote too. How do we get a parent engagement assistant in every school that's funded out of the general fund? Title I schools cannot buy that position because there's federal law that talks about supplanting. So if the school system is providing that position in any school, it needs to provide it for all schools. So that's our parent engagement assistance. The second thing that's in the PowerPoint that's very important is that starting this year, we started having the responsibility of providing support to parents who may have been in violation of the new parent code of conduct. And so we provide training sessions, and I don't call them training conversations. One of the parents who received a ban letter told me that training is for dogs, and I'm not a dog. And I loved it. I was like, you know what? You're absolutely correct. This is a conversation, and it's a restorative conversation. We don't want any parent to feel that they cannot participate in the educational lives of their children. And maybe they violated our code of conduct. However, there are restorative practices, just like we extend grace to students and to teachers and educators. We extend grace to parents as well. And so I have conversations with any parent. And so far this year, there have been about 21 cases, which is really kind of low compared to other districts. And I believe they're low because of the conversations that principals and support that principals feel in being able to engage parents. There are many options before a parent is considered in violation of the code of conduct. So we're trying to build a community of caring and of listening and supporting and extending grace. And so that's what the code of conduct does, to make sure that families feel that if they do something that's a violation of our code of conduct for families, there is an opportunity to be reinstated reclaimed into the family. And then, of course, Family Institute is the biggest thing that we do. And so there's a lot in the slideshow about Family Institute, the history of it, the big conferences that we've had in the past, where we had Hill Harper and Ron Clark. The basketball player's mother was Will Durant's mom, Stephen Perry. So we've had different people who come in to talk with our general community about the importance of this partnership and things that we need to do to make a difference. Our very first speaker we ever had when we started was Dr. Marian Wright Edelman. And that was probably our largest attendance of conference. We had close to 3,000 people that Saturday at a high school at Charles Herbert Flowers. Then COVID came along, and we haven't had any more big gatherings like that, but we plan to go back now that our restrictions have been released. And so we're just looking forward again to make sure that we provide as much information and support to families and to schools. We follow Dr. Karen Mapp's philosophy of building dual capacity. We build capacity of families to be able to support their children and interact effectively with schools. We build capacity of school staff. Every month, I run a class, a 3-hour class in the evening for teachers or administrators, anyone who would like to come. And they can actually earn a stipend for taking 3 hours of training to learn strategies for building better partnerships with families. That is something that's just makes a world of difference. And hopefully we're building what we call family engagement ambassadors in every building. So even if you don't have a parent engagement assistant, you have staff members who have skills, who have knowledge, and we build attitude and affect for engaging and working with families. The PowerPoint also highlights who our partners are. I know someone had mentioned Flamboyant in one of our earliest sessions. They've been our partners in Prince George's County ever since they existed. And they actually do work in some of our schools. So we're just excited about this work. We're passionate about the work that we do in service to our schools and in our communities. And I'm excited to be a member of PCAC because I just see the power that exists in this body. I think I shared with you all early on, my husband was one of the original members of the original Committee of 100 that started, that worked to desegregate schools. And one of the things that's just been really important to us is making sure that parents are recognized for the leadership skills that they bring to Prince George's County Public Schools. And the school system taps into those strengths and talents to make this a better school system. So as representatives of such a powerful organization, y'all know me, I came up with a call to action, and Mrs. Millhouse, you can stop me if I'm overstepping, but I just wanted to share some thoughts with you all as I think about the power of the Parent Community Advisory Committee. And one of the things, as you read through our PowerPoint, when we talk about our Family Institute, we have 2 sessions a month. It's been virtual this year. We hope to go back in person. We hope to move it around the county. We typically have 50 to 60 parents who come. We provide childcare, but the topics that we talk about are generated by our public. We ask our families, we ask our educators, executive staff, what are the things that are important to get in front of parents to help them better support their children? So in the PowerPoint, please click on that link if you have ideas for sessions that we need to provide in our Family Institute sessions, or sessions that we might want to have at our larger conference that we plan to have next year. We love and value your input. We suggest from our department that it's really important for each of us, because most of us are assigned to, or we come from different board districts. It's really important to get to know your schools that you represent, and find out their strengths and their programs, and let's highlight them. And we've heard some of that already in some of the sharing that members have done before. One of the things that's been very important for Dr. Golson is making sure that every school has a parent leadership organization. And I shared at an earlier meeting what the list is this year of schools that has identified that they have either a PTA, PTO, parent advisory board. Some schools have a parent club. Some schools have a coffee or tea with the principal every month as a leadership organization. But it's important for PCAC members to know who's in their districts and what kind of work that they're doing. We promote that those parent leadership organizations are really those type of individuals who can help us with some shared decision making, who can help us beyond the bake sale and raising money to actually have some input into policies and practices in our schools. And then, of course, attending programs at our schools. Our schools look up to individuals like the members of this PCAC to that you are the leaders that not only have been appointed, but that people see in their district. If you can help to bring businesses to support our schools, not that you have to raise money, but if you could point maybe your schools to some of those community partners who can help them meet some of their needs. And then, of course, Mrs. Millhouse has already talked about, and Mrs. Welsh has talked about updating school system policies and administrative procedures for parent-family engagement. That is something we're already do, and I appreciate that leadership. But like, again, Mr. Epps and Ms. Millhouse have talked about and have participated in those Family Institute sessions, whether it's the mini conference that was just held, Mr. Epps at a PEA meeting, or any of the Family Institute sessions that we advertise them on our website. If we have email addresses, we send those invitations out to everyone. Promoting father engagement sessions are happening right now. And of course, you as presenters at our Family Institute sessions. So that was my call to action. I don't know if it was supposed to be one thing, Mrs. Millhouse, but I was just thinking about, wow, these are all the things that PCAC members would just be, the community would be bowled over to see PCAC members participate in.
No, I think this is really good. I mean, because one, I want to also mention Mr. Ross, because I wouldn't have been able to make it through Saturday without him. So thank you, Mr. Ross, for being my wingman.
Oh, and Mr. Ross and Mrs. Millhouse, thank you all so much. I was not there Saturday because I'm a grandma again.
Congratulations.
Welcome the new granddaughter. So that's why I was not there this Saturday, but thank you all so much. My staff have talked so much about your presence and what it meant. So thank you.
And that's what I just wanted to add. I mean, I know, when Will went and met with the parent engagement worker, I don't think we all knew what we were walking into, but I can say what I gained walking out of it. And I gained that we are needed. Like this committee is very, very valuable. We have a lot to offer this school community. We have access to various areas. We get to see things from a global perspective. I know some of you I spoke to, and I'll speak to those of you who are representing the faith-based community, the business community. When you get out there and begin to engage with different schools and parents, you may be a resource that school community may need. They don't have access to. You may be able to say, well, hey, there's a vendor that you may not know about that is, an approved vendor. They're providing such and such service that could benefit that school community. There's a business that may want to volunteer. They don't know, because they don't know it exists. Let's just be clear. The broad group does not know that we exist yet. There is no way that we can get out in front of every school individually, but we are working to make sure that it is communicated, it is highlighted, people know. And so when they see that you are from prospective areas such as the faith-based community, they may be looking for a place to worship. They may be looking for, hey, does your church offer before and after care services? They may be looking for various things. But they won't know, right, until we begin to engage in a way that, we can't make it to every event, but when we can, let's make it our business to show up so we can help spread the word while, Ms. Dent is pushing to make sure that we have a website and that the world of PGCPS knows that we exist, and we are pushing to create a culture of engagement that allows for two-way communication, support, and accountability. So Dr. Jackson, thank you. That's my soapbox, and I just want to add to what you're doing.
Thank you. And if you all ever have any questions or need anything from me, I'm very easy to find. My email, I have one of the first emails in the school system. As you can see, it's all lowercase letters. It has no periods, no caps. sjackson@pgcps.org. If you ever need me, you know how to reach me, and I thank you all for that.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Hi, Dr. Jackson, how are you? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Lundy?
Hello to the public. I think I missed when you say you do the you teach you teach strategies for building better partnership with families. And I
Yes.
missed, when do you do that and how can I connect with that?
Email me and I will share with you. It's once a month.
Right.
I have another one coming up. I think it's like May 19th, maybe. But yes, and any of you would be welcome to participate in that. I could just send you the link. Yeah, it'd be fine.
That would be a great piece of, great education and information to have, especially as a part of the PCAT.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you.
And the other thing, Dr. Jackson, I know we discussed making sure that all of the PCAC members are a part of the your distribution list for the quarterly leader conversations that happen. And I mean, I guess if we can just also make sure that we are all added to the email list for your monthly workshops that you have, that would just, be perfect.
So I'll share with you all, but
Okay.
you might get so many emails sometimes that you may be overwhelmed. So I'll figure out a way to make it really stand out. As soon as I found out our email addresses, I added you to my list. And so I'll make sure that I follow up whenever something's happening and an invitation comes out. I will follow up to make sure you saw it.
And I get it. And I created a remind group for us just to kind of keep us abreast and another way to engage versus the email. So because I know many of us are getting so many, just to say, hey, check this out, or just a reminder to check your email. But they are great workshops. But Dr. Jackson, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all that you all do.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No?
I have
So
a quick question. Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
So
It's in the
it's
folder.
already in what
It's
the
in the
board
documents?
docs. It's in
Okay,
board docs, yeah.
it's on
Thank
board
you.
docs and it's in the, and what I'll do, Ms. Hollenshed, is for the follow-up for this meeting, I'll create the folder that I mentioned, and then I'll re-add it to that folder
Okay.
as well. Okay?
Thank you.
Because that would be something great, because also there was a list for all of these schools, right, Dr. Jackson?
Yes,
And the
mhm.
parent leader groups.
Yeah.
And so she's already done the work for us, you guys. And so just let's get that to our board members when they're sending out newsletters and information, that they have that updated, since they actually have email accounts to do so. Any other questions? No? So, Dr. Jackson, thank you again to you and your team. Now we are in 3.0 follow-up in next steps. 3.1 follow-up. The follow-up would be for me to make sure I am adding the information to our follow-up folder for this meeting. And that way it will be organized. You don't have to go anywhere. Make sure that you have a notice, as well as send you a link to the folder, because I need you all to get in that folder and get busy, because we have some short turnarounds. And so I really would appreciate that. What everything else you may have on your calendars and your to-do list, this is very important, because we need to get this report together and out with the recommendations that we have, that we want to begin moving on for next year. I want to also mention that if you have not had an opportunity to see the SMOB had his a town hall. They had their first debate a couple of weeks ago, and I attended. It was exceptional. I am very proud of our student leaders. And I will say, I want us to really connect and collaborate with them to really support the work that they're doing. But it was a phenomenal showcase of student leaders who are vying for that position. So they did have their election, and I cannot recall the name of the individual that did win. But I want to shout out both of the students who, took the time and energy to say what they wanted to do as leaders in PGCPS. And once I get, the names and everything, because I remember one name, I just don't remember the other, I will send it out to us so we can just send a congratulation and thanks and just reach out to them to let them know that we're here to support them. There's also the Excellence in Education Foundation is doing a retirement celebration for Dr. Golson on June 23rd, 2023. I'm not sure if you all were aware of it. Tickets are general admission, $150, VIP, $250. The great thing is the proceeds are going to PGCPS scholars. So a great way to celebrate Dr. Golson, as well as contribute to the fund that allows our school district to provide, provide scholarships to students. I am so sorry. And it is buried in my bag. And I can't get to it.
Ms. Millhouse, the new small member is her name is Rain Rivera. So she was voted in after the debate. And the debate was between Miss Rain Rivera, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name, Enoch Omateo.
Enoch Omateo, yes. So wonderful students, congratulations, you said, to Miss Rain Taylor?
Rain Rivera.
Miss Rivera. So Miss Rivera, it was amazing. The other thing that I wanted to just mention is I appreciate you all's time. I am so sorry. So that's actually my work phone. This is real life, people. We're volunteers and we have jobs. So thank you all. The next step is please take the time to provide feedback, and do know that we exist. They are watching us. I had a couple of people ask about, the work that's happening in their respective districts. And, I will always say, hey, if you haven't seen them yet, with one person, we can't get to every school, but we are working in collaboration with our board members to engage, connect, and keep everyone informed. So I don't have anything else. Does anyone have anything to say, to add, they wanted to share before we move into item 4.0, closing remarks and adjournment? Going once, going twice. We are moving to item 4.0. My closing remark is have a great evening. Please make sure you comply with the deadline. And let's make sure we engage and get the word out that the power is in our voice, and the change that we want is created with us. It starts with us. So let's move forward. Let's collaborate. Let's partner. And let's make PGCPS the best school district in the nation. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
You need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
We are adjourned. I was about to end. All in favor, aye. All any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Good night.
night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.